Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Grant Specialist. My name is Chinmay and I will be explaining today about the NHMRC and MRFF career disruptions. This is a very important area of your application and that directly impacts the assessment of your application for funding. So this is a critical section which we'll be talking about today. In this session, we'll be looking at some career disruption principles. What are the different types of career disruptions as stipulated by NHMRC and MRFF? We'll be looking at some eligible and ineligible career disruptions, and also how to calculate your career disruptions when you're writing an application. All right, so the principles are NHMRC and MRFF, which recognizes career disruptions as the prolonged interruptions to an applicant's ability to work, which arises out of the three reasons. One is pregnancy, one is carer's responsibility, and the third is major illness or injury. Mind you, only three reasons, not any fourth reason apart from these three reasons are considered as valid career disruptions reasons by NHMRC. The second important principle is for it to be an eligible career disruptions, it has to be at least 90 calendar days or more, right? So one disruption can be 90 calendar days or more, while the second, if the second one, which is just consecutive to the first one, is less than 90 calendar days or more, they still consider it as valid because it is consecutive and the total period of time is considered. We'll be looking at that a bit further into eligible and ineligible career disruption section as well. So with the career disruptions, it has two very major impacts, three to be honest. One is on the assessment of your application. So if you have a career disruption and you've clearly mentioned it there, it's a valid career disruption depending on the guidelines of that very specific opportunity that you're applying for, then your application will be assessed with somebody with similar experience, not somebody who has, let's say, no career disruptions in their career, right? So the first impact it has is on the PhD pass date. Now let's understand this a bit further. So let's say your PhD pass date is about 7 years from the date of submission of this grant of a particular grant opportunity, and you have 2 years of valid career disruptions. So what it does is, in theory, it moves the PhD pass date ahead or back by 2 years, which means now from the submission date of the fund scheme, your PhD pass date is just 5 years out instead of 7 years out because you had 2 years of career disruptions. The other thing that a career disruption allows you to do is include more publications in your application, and how far back you can go is you just need to add, let's say you have an accessible period of a grant scheme. So accessible period is the period, again, the duration in which everything regarding CI team capability, the achievements and everything will be assessed. However, if a particular CI has a career disruption by 2 years, let's say the same example, they can actually include publications and include publications from 2 years beyond the accessible period. So for that particular CI, the accessible period extends by 2 more years. So now it becomes 7 years. While for other 9 CIs, let's say for example, the accessible period remains as 5 years. So these are very important impacts of career disruptions, which is why NHMRC and MRFF will assess these career disruptions very carefully and very seriously, and they would need sufficient evidence to substantiate your claims, which we'll be looking at in the next slide. So let's look at some evidences and for different types of career disruptions that are eligible to be claimed for. One is your pregnancy. So in terms, if it's a pregnancy that you had a career disruption for, the evidence that we would need or your respective grants office would need would be a letter from HR which clearly states the days between which the paternity leave or the pregnancy happened and the reason for that leave, right? The second one will be major illness. Major illness is, in this case, we'll need a letter from HR suggesting the dates of your leave or a medical certificate as well. The third one is carer's responsibility. So in carer's responsibility as well, we'll need a letter from HR of your respective organization and the reason of the disruption, because NHMRC is interested in the FTE of disruption, not the FTE of work. So be very careful with these. So these evidences, if you're applying for any career disruptions, expect the fact that your research officers, your respective research officers will contact you and collect these evidences from you. Also, since you know now that they will be asking you for the evidences, it would be really helpful, or I would strongly recommend you to contact your HR or people department ASAP, because usually what happens is, since there are a lot of applications going in, they get really busy. So it will be easier to get the evidences ASAP from them. All right, let's look at some eligible and ineligible career disruptions, right? So as we discussed previously, an eligible disruption has to be at least 90 days or more. So let's look at the first example. There was a carer's responsibility starting from 1st of Jan 2015 to 30th of April 2015. So it was about 4 months, which is about 122 days. But the FTE of career disruption was 30%, which essentially means the person was working at 70% or 0.7 FTE. Therefore, the days disrupted is 36 days. We'll be looking at how do you calculate that, how we reach that 36 days in the next section. So hold off for that. However, it's 36 days, which is less than 90 days as an individual career disruption. Therefore, it is an ineligible career disruption. Although the reason why a career disruption is being claimed is correct, is allowable, just the days disrupted is less than 90. So if you see, even if the reason is correct and the days are less than 90, it's still not a valid disruption. All right. Now, let's look at some eligible career disruptions, right? So a person had a parental leave starting from 1st of Jan 2014 to 31st of 12 2014, and they were not working at all. So the FTE of disruption was 100%, which is 1 year. And then followed by that, they had a carer's responsibility from 1st of Jan 2015 to 31st of March 2015. At that time, they were working at 0.4 FTE. So after their parental leave, they came back to work at 0.4 FTE, which means the FTE of career disruption is now 60%. So the second one, the total days disrupted is 54. I've marked it as red there because the individual one is less than 90 days, similar to the one we saw just above, which is 36 days. However, in this case, if you see, it's a consecutive disruption. So the first one ended at 31st of December 2014, while the next one started immediately, which is the 1st of Jan 2015, right? Which is consecutive, which makes it a valid disruption. The same thing happens in the next one. So the person had a parental leave from the 1st of Jan 2017 to 30th of April 2017. So they did not work at all, which is just for 4 months. So then they came back to work on the 1st of May 2017 till 31st of August 2017. They were working at 6.6 FTE. Therefore, the disruption was 0.4. And then the total number of days are 49. Again, the individual one is less than 90. However, since it's consecutive, it will still be considered as eligible career disruption. Now, this is a very peculiar scenario. Sometimes what happens is due to the way HR or your people and culture teams or whatever show things in the record of an employee, the employment record, sometimes you might see that the career disruption dates are overlapping. A very peculiar scenario is if you're working at one organization and the second organization simultaneously. So it might be an overlapping career disruptions when you get your letters from these two. So if in the first case, if you see, it started on the 1st of Jan 2014, ended in the 31st of 12 2014, which is 365. And then the carers started on the 1st of 10th 2014 or 31st of Jan 2015 at 0.8 FTE of disruption, which is 72 days. So if you look at that, the total is 437 days. However, there is a 2-month overlap, right? So parental leave ends on 31st of 12th, 2014. However, the carer starts on the 1st of 10th, 2014, right? So that there's an overlap of a couple of months. So in these cases, I would strongly recommend to leave the parental leave up till the 31st of 12, 2014 and start the carer's responsibility or carer's leave from the 1st of Jan 2015. Or the second option is we reduce the parental leave until the 30th of September 2014 and then the carer starts on the 1st of October. In the first scenario, the researcher gets more benefit of claiming more days because the FTE of parental leave is 0 FTE or 100% of career disruption. Therefore, going through the first sort of approach would be beneficial for the researcher themselves, right? So similarly, as I said, what I recommended is this: the 1st of Jan 2014 to 31st of 12 2014, and then 1st of Jan 2015 is the carer's responsibility starting till the 31st of Jan 2015. So the effective days will be 389 and not 437, right? Always remember, you cannot claim the time twice, right? So if it's overlapping, the reason we move the dates around is you cannot claim this time twice. You have to claim the time once. Yeah. All right. Now let's look at the formulate or how you calculate your career disruptions, right? We saw some numbers up there, which were some red or black in the days disrupted. How do you get to those numbers, right? So the formula is the total number of days between the start and the end date, right? So if your career disruption starts on the 1st of March 2025 and ends on the 31st of March 2025, right? Sorry for the typo there. Then the total number of days in the middle multiplied by the FTE of disruption. So FTE of disruption is, let's say in the example that we're looking, right, 0.2 FTE. So how you do is the start date is 1st of March 2015, end date is 31st of March 2015. And therefore the effective days is 31 days. So 31 multiplied by 0.2 is equal to 6.2 days, which is approximately 6 days. So this is how you calculate your career disruptions. Now, what is the assessable period for a particular grant scheme, and what are the allowable sort of time frames of career disruption and things like that? You have to refer to the guidelines of the individual fund scheme that you're applying for, which we'll be making videos of as well. So you don't need to worry about those. We'll be covering career disruption in each of those videos, and that will be very specific to that fund scheme, so you don't need to worry about that. So this session was primarily a general overview of what career disruptions are, what does it mean to a researcher, what does it mean to a reviewer, and as a researcher, when you're calculating disruptions, how do you calculate them? All right, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below, and please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And if you have any specific ideas on which you need us to make a video on, please do put them in the comments. Thank you.